Welcome to the Raymond School District number 14's annual budget hearing. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6:30 p.m. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Natalie, will you do roll call of attendance, please?
Yep. Jennifer Gonzalez.
Here.
Ed Robinson.
Here.
Mike Powers.
Yep.
Keith Casselson.
Here.
Audrey Costick.
Here. Verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statutes.
Sorry, I had a tickle in my throat. I didn't forget. It was posted in all the usual spots: schoolhouse doors, eVirgin, Village Hall, online, media were notified, and are present.
Okay, thank you. Move to agenda revisions or approval.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the budget hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We now will appoint the secretary for the budget hearing and annual meeting. And I believe we have appointed Natalie. Will you accept?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you,
It's hard
Natalie.
to say no at that point.
Oh. Thank you, Natalie. And now we move to the budget hearing. First, Mr. Leach, Dr. Leach,
Yes,
will update district affairs.
absolutely. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's hard to believe it's already that time. A little bit later than last year's annual meeting, but nonetheless, here we are. So welcome. Tonight I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the state of affairs with the school district, kind of how things are going, and that'll hopefully help feed into some of our budget discussions as to where we are from a fiscal standpoint. So we have recently dusted off through our strategic planning process the original vision statement, which is ambition, belief, character. And our mission, this is our new mission statement that came through the strategic planning process: empowering all students by nurturing a culture of academic excellence, igniting curiosity, and cultivating perseverance within a supportive community. That's our updated mission that came out of the strategic planning work and had input from a lot of different stakeholders. So we're very excited to have that in place. The strategic planning process was one that we endured from April to now October. The due date for the annual meeting update was tonight. We wanted to launch the document you see in the corner up there. It's in the back, color copy. That is the 4 buckets of our priorities that came through the strategic planning process. We're very excited because this helps narrow the focus and align our work and bring people into the picture on what's important to us over the next 3 to 5 years. And so again, we had a community survey, 100% staff input. Ongoing, staff will be working on that. For example, Thursday we have a professional development day, and our staff will be talking about our strategic plan at the professional development day because we've already started the work that's identified in those 4 quadrants. There were ongoing community discussion groups. This plan, again, outlooks over the next 3 to 5 years, which is great because we're moving forward and trying to get things to be aligned from the board all the way through our system. The process is ongoing. This is not a document that's static. Back in the day when I started my career, if you had a strategic plan, which was a big if, it was oftentimes a binder that sat on a shelf, and you did it once, and it was done for 10 years, and it just kind of sat there. Gone is that day. We have to move and go with the times as things change and adjust, and you meet your students' needs and your community needs. So we all know things are changing very quickly in our world, so having a fluid document is really important. The 4 areas that we decided to focus on as priorities are educational experiences, culture and climate, financial management, and safety and infrastructure. For the most part, those things speak for themselves. On the handout, there's a definition descriptor under each bucket. I think you'll understand, though, that first and foremost, we are here for education of our kids. And so that's the first bucket, really, And our culture and climate are really second to that. We need to make sure we have a healthy culture. This place is where kids want to be, staff want to be, and our community is proud of it. And then financial management, we know financial times have been challenging in Raymond, to say the least. And I think tonight you'll get a better outlook on things from Mr. Genovese, but at the same time, that work is ongoing. And building trust in our community is really essential as we move forward. And then safety and infrastructure, again, equally important. We have to make sure things are safe and looking good for our systems that we have here at Raymond, to make sure with systems comes better alignment and movement forward, progress. So again, some of the changes we've had, we had a tough year last year. It was a tough year because we were forced into some changes based on our budgetary position. We had to reduce staff by 4 teachers and 3 assistants. These reductions were not done in a vacuum. This was not me showing up and saying, I think these are the people. It was through a year of assessment and planning and strategy around what's going to have us, obviously minimize the impact on our students in terms of negativity, but also allow us to move forward with things that are important to us. We reduced student contact and electives. We do meet the state minimum requirement, but Raymond did better in the past. We had more music and more art and more Phi-Ed, but we have a little bit less now. Again, it's an alignment, but that's how we were able to trim some areas. We reduced electives options, so we had, a drama class, we had jazz band. We don't have those classes offered during the day anymore. Our wonderful teachers have done what they can to provide those opportunities for kids, but they're not during the day in our schedule as they were in the past. So middle schoolers have less to choose from, but nonetheless, they do have electives. Staff lost prep time, which causes grading and feedback concerns. Obviously, planning is really important, probably one of the most important things for a teacher to do, and providing kids feedback is how you work that cycle of learning and teaching. So those are things that were reduced. We reduced our collaboration structure and changed it, so teachers that think together get better results, and so planning does still happen. It just doesn't happen during common preps. It doesn't happen during some of the meeting structures that we had, because we had to do more with less. So our staff have been amazing at navigating all this. We altered our block schedule at the middle school. We had longer 90-minute classes. Those are now 43 in some cases. ELA did stay the same. We also assigned the schedules to elementary. In the past, it was always, hey, here's your schedule, let's build it together. Now it was, here's the schedule, this is when you have your specials, and here's your instructional blocks. Now, in some cases, that actually worked out nicely because less decision-making. However, at the same time, it's challenging because it doesn't always meet the needs of those grade levels that are accepting those schedules. Special ed caseloads were increased. We could cut a special education teacher. That's challenging, but we've got tremendously talented staff and great paras, and we support our kids. We're in alignment with all of our IEPs, but it did increase caseloads, which is challenging. We restructured the business office. We made administrative cuts as well. I stand here before you as the superintendent and principal. I call myself Super Prince. The students, for the most part, do as well, but it's really what we do now. And Dana Marty has taken on different responsibilities. Donna on our leadership team. We all work together to make sure that things are as seamless as possible, and our staff are absolutely job one, doing the best they can with the support from the admin level that they have. We restructured our part of the business office was also the office, main office. So we're down from really 3 administrative assistants down to 2. And so Natalie, who serves as secretary, also serves as admin assistant to this wonderful place. So we've got a great team, and we're doing more with less. We don't have direct world language instruction this year. We have an indirect model, which is virtual. The kids are doing fine with it because they're resilient. But is that the best model? Probably not. We'd like to see if we can do better, but right now we provide world language, and it's what we're doing. We do have kids that are taking Polish and German and Japanese and classes we never thought they'd take because the online platform does allow that, whereas in the past it was just Spanish. But now it's a variety, but at the same time it's still a challenge nonetheless. And there were reductions, as I mentioned, in art, music, Phi-Ed, and STEM. We did have some things that had to change. We had to reduce our art teacher. She now travels to a different school. Phi-Ed we reduced down to part-time, and she travels and subs and does what she can to make a full-time job out of it. She's a trooper. Music was reduced, and our music teacher spent some of her time now teaching English, Mrs. Walsh, so she's doing that, doing a great job. Our band teacher is traveling. He's 50% with us, 30% with a different district. Again, trying to make ends meet to be creative was really our big task. And STEM was reduced and altered a little bit in that there's a little bit less STEM time in our day for kids. But nonetheless, there are some things to celebrate. It's been a fantastic start to the year. We could not ask for a better start. We are exceeding expectations on the state report card last year, so that was the score reported last November, 81. We anticipate our score coming out this November. We're excited to see what it is and see what progress we're making. We do have, right now, initially embargoed scores, so I can't share that with you, but I can tell you that 24-25 scores will be out in November as well, and we're anticipating, using that to help people understand the good things that we're doing here at our school. We had 10 new staff members last year. A very loud community concern came when I first got here of all the turnover and change. Those 10 staff did a tremendous job, and it was because they had the support of veteran staff. The people who stuck around here and are here for the longevity have done a tremendous job supporting and helping the teams form. It's really neat to see teams of a veteran staff member and a rookie, and it's great to have that across many of our teams, and so that structure seemed to work last year. We have a very positive culture of support. In November, we're going to share our second staff culture survey, which we did, and I think it's really important for us, if we're working on culture, to know how the culture is progressing and call it out if there's things that are ailing us, because we want to get better and continuously improve. We have a very strong arts program. We have high interest and high quality. Big numbers and lots of good things going on. If you got a chance to see our performance of Little Mermaid Junior, it was our second musical in 6 months. Kind of crazy on behalf of the music teacher, but that's okay. That's her passion, and we let her go with it. And again, staff supported there. Sports and clubs are active and engaged in our conference. We just wrapped up our fall sports season, heading into our winter sports season now, kind of rolling right into it. Things are going great. Panther Pride, summer school, they're ongoing things. Summer school had great enrollment. Panther Pride has evolved and has always been a strong pulse for us in providing wraparound services for 4K and Panther Pride like daycare services after school for our students, which is awesome. Mrs. Waldron, Ms. Kerber do a great job with that program. We did resolve the budget issue, again, through these changes, as mentioned before, and through having a new business manager who was helping us to navigate. We are trending positive. We are balanced, which is the key you'll see tonight in our budget. It's not easy to get to balance these days, and it's important that we operate there because, in fact, we have to operate a little bit in the positive because we've got to build back some of those things that are ailing us, like our fund balance. Engagement and strategic plan was great and moving forward. And last but not least, of course, our students are the biggest thing to celebrate. We have awesome kids, amazing students. In fact, one even showed up here tonight. That's amazing. Look at that. Thank you. Such an interested community member. Wow. And so the idea here is that we've just got a pretty special place in our community. It's something to celebrate. So it's obviously hard to work through decisions that we had to make last year, but we're sitting in a good position right now. So that's kind of where things are sitting. What are we doing next? Because we never stop. We are always continuously improving. We're going to find time to collaborate and professionally grow. We have a new schedule. We've got to make it work. We've got to live in our new digs. We're going to continue to build a culture of support for students. We're going to continue to build positivity and collaboration. Obviously, we want staff to work together and be efficient. We're going to continue to work on artificial intelligence policies and work towards usage and support. That's in our world right now in front of kids, and we've got to make sure that the kids we have are ready for those skills at the high school level, because they're going to go off to the high school from here and they've got to know what they're doing and how it impacts them. We want to be innovative and creative in a changing educational climate. A lot of our teachers have great ideas, and we want to create the conditions for them to feel like they can be safe and try new things and be innovative and flourish. Because when they do that, it's better for our students. We have to be budget conscious. We got to make sure everything we do is getting looked at. We jokingly call Jeff Dad. Dad has to check the checkbook before we make any purchases. The reality here is everything we spend, we've got to scrutinize and know what's it for, where's it for, how much is it, and is this a recurring expense? Just like in-home budgeting. Building and facilities projects, we have an aging facility, so we've got to address that. This year we're looking at, on October 20th, the board will be considering a feasibility study for our buildings and grounds. What do we need to look at and repair and address? You know, the things that are on that list are not very attractive things. They're not things you always see, like a roof or a hot water heater. things in your house that no one will ever brag about, but you know you need them. So those things are happening in our facilities, and we want to also see what we want to take with, within the community and make sure we develop this place into a place that, is very much supportive of and giving the community what it needs. So we're going to be going through a facility study here hopefully soon. And of course, we've got to look at solutions because we can't just continue to, try the same things and expect different results. That's sort of the definition of insanity. We've got to look at a referendum, state changes, things that are coming down the pike, and so obviously we'll look at those things this year. We are not going to referendum in the immediate, next year, but obviously elections are on a cycle and we've got to figure out what we need and be really precise with it and accurate so that the community knows what our needs are and why. They've got to understand the why before the how. So that's sort of the ongoing work we've got. I'll turn it over to Jeff. So Jeff Genovese, our yes. Jeff's going to go over the treasurer's report before he goes into the budget.
I'm going to use this because I am a soft-spoken person. This is it's a different presentation, not something I would normally do at a board meeting, because it's the big picture. So this is mostly the big picture, and at each board meeting now I break down the financials. For all of you that love accounting, you'll be able to see a lot of that at the board meeting. The purpose of this is sort of the bigger picture. So you see a lot of big numbers, but it's just how things happen at an annual meeting and a budget hearing. So this is the treasury report. So this is for fiscal year 24-25, which ends on June 30th. So it ended June 30th, 2025. So this is financials that happened last year. I started July 1. I've been at Yorkville for 6 years. And I share my position 50-50 now with Yorkville and Raymond. I did increase my hours, so I work more hours to make up for some of that. But that's okay, because I like working and I like spreadsheets and I love the community, so it doesn't bother me too much. And I'm a morning person, so.
So this is painful tonight for you.
Yes. No, it's okay. So what you see in the treasurer's report for last year is something similar to what I do at board meetings now. We had in 24-25 we had 3 accounts. We had a checking account, a money market account, and an LGIP. It's a savings account. We didn't have a lot of activity in the savings account because there's not a lot of money to save. And then we had a Fund 21, which is like a student account that affects students and donations to students and to the school, and that's a checking account. And then we had a Fund 39 savings account, and Fund 39 is referendum debt that was left over. And then, so those are the accounts that we had. That's all of the cash. So it's pure cash. That's all of the cash balances for those accounts. And then the general fund, we began July 1, 2024 at $234,000. And then it goes through revenues, so local taxes, if you want to scroll down, interdistrict payments, mostly open enrollment and shared services. This is all revenue, state aid, federal grants, and federal aid. We have a small rural school grant, and then other sources. Most of that was the state trust fund loans. So that was all revenue, and then the expenditures, again, big numbers, instruction, that's how anything that affects a kid and not a building. And then support services is special ed, administration, purchases for, operating. And then the non-program transactions are mostly transfers, like special ed. So if you notice that the expenditures was less than the revenue, mostly because of state trust fund loans. So we ended with, you can go up a little bit more. So we ended with a fund balance of $677,000. That's the final number that I gave to DPI, and we matched with the auditors, and we were on time. So, if you scroll down, and that's the general fund. So then we have a special project. So this is Fund 21 and Fund 27. That's just how they make the report it. And then there's a beginning fund balance and an ending fund balance. It's mostly Fund 21. Debt service is, we have an energy efficiency bond, and we had, I think that's most of what that's from. We also had the Fund $39 still left in it. So this is sort of the accounting portion. The top of it was pure cash. Okay. And that's it. So it's also in the packet. So what you saw is what it's in the packet. So the presentation, everything I have in the presentation, almost everything is also in the packet. The reason why I give you the packet is because I want you to understand like everything that happens with these funds. So it's a lot of words. So when I'm talking, you might not remember anything that I said. So that's why I put it down in writing. So it explains the funds, it explains what happens, it explains all the numbers. So you don't have to remember or go back to the video on what I just said. It's all there for you, okay?
That's all this stuff here, which is in your packet.
So all of that in the packet is basically what I'm going to go through. I won't go detail by detail in the presentation because it's all big numbers. But I'll highlight some things. So the first part is just how the state budget. This is just the agenda. I have a thing.
You do?
I do. Let me try this. Look at that. So this is this is projected. The difficult part about this meeting is that tomorrow I get the final numbers for everything. So right now you're seeing a projection. So when they, everybody did what they could with the knowledge that they had. So the annual meeting is a projection. Tomorrow I'll get the exact numbers. They didn't give it to me early, unfortunately. So what you see is a projection. Some of these numbers will change. Not these numbers, but so they did increase the bottom one. They did DPI or the legislature increased open enrollment revenue and voucher expenses. So they increased it quite a bit, which helps us with our revenue. Okay. Are you doing that or am I doing that?
It's sensitive. Go ahead.
Okay. So our enrollment on third Friday was 388 kids. So that includes residents and open enrollment. Our total staffing, so we had 59 total staff this year, and the FTE is a percentage of the staff. So we, for instance, have a 80% art teacher that goes into the calculation. One full-time staff is 1. So again, here's some big numbers for comparison. So the general fund is where most of the work goes. This is revenue. So you have the audited 23-24. 2024, this is actual 24-25. It says unaudited, but it's the numbers that are in Skyward that probably pretty much won't change. And then the budget number for this upcoming year. We're living in the budget right now, 25-26. Am I blocking somebody?
So Jeff, what says unaudited up there is actually audited and complete.
The audit is complete, yes.
Okay.
But you'd be surprised, I get things like in April saying, hey, you have to maybe just look at this again, and then you have to change everything. So it's every day is an adventure with DPI. They'll tell me something and then everything changes. It's not usually big changes, but for the most part, that's what it's going to stay at. So if you notice, the budget revenue obviously is less living in where we're at. Here's a pie chart representation of our revenue. 50% local, 23% again, mostly open enrollment. State sources is state aid. So the majority of our revenue are in those 3 buckets. This is the cash position, so this is pure cash. If you notice, it goes up and down. So we have less cash in October, November, December. We have more cash in January and February. And then we have less cash, and then we have more cash. It just depends when DPI, when equalization gate comes in, and when property tax come in. So those particular months, we have less cash, which is why we have the short-term borrow. That's pretty normal, it's not unusual. So expenses, again, big buckets. Instruction, costs related to students, so anything that a student is affected by, like a purchase or a classroom purchase or a teacher, is instruction. Support services, again, is guidance, student support, administration, operations, buildings. And then the non-program transactions is mostly a special ed transfer. It's a weird thing, you have to account for your special ed expenses in the general fund. Here's a better way of sort of looking at your expenses. So we have salaries, benefits, purchase services are work being done, things you purchase for up on the outside to do work for you. Non-capital objects are mostly supplies. Capital objects, which is any one item over $5,000. Short-term debt, which is mostly interest. Insurance, transfers to other funds, special ed, and then fees, and then the expenditures again, spending less this year, hopefully than we did last year. So this is also in your packet. So here's the pie chart for expenses. So salaries, benefits, about 60%. That's pretty normal. I think a high school is about 70%. And then purchase services, again, work that's done for us. Some of it is also like open enrollment out. And then we have some other buckets. So this, some people are visual and like the visual, so there it is. This is the only thing that's really not in your packet. So special ed revenues, again, so we have a lot of transit between schools. We share services to keep our costs down. And CISA does work. They have people that come and work for us. Then we also get aid from them. State aid is projected to go up from 30%. I think last year was 29. It's projected to go up 40%. It's one of the things they did also in the biennial budget. But our expenses, again, as Mr. Leach has said, it's projected to go down. So revenues go down too. So expenses, again, special ed, instruction support, and then transfers. So Fund 21, I haven't budgeted for Fund 21. I don't necessarily have to, just because it's very fluid right now. The district did not use Fund 21 as I would expect it to. So we're trying to do some things to Fund 21 to give some relief and to get some, Fund 21 is like student council. So if they have a balance, someone gives money to student council 1 year, it can keep in that fund for years and years. If you put it in the general fund, it's wiped out. So then the student council has no idea how much money they have in their account. So that's, trying to use Fund 21 in that way, I think helps the students and the teachers to understand, what they can use, how much money they have. But I really don't know what they want to spend their money on. I haven't had enough time to have those discussions, so the budgeting for Fund 21, I don't really budget yet. So debt service is the state trust fund loan we have to start paying back. We borrowed $900,000 last year, and then we also have a energy efficiency loan, and those are detailed in that packet too. So it's Fund 38 and Fund 39. So this is what the community, the revenue is $267,000 for that, and that is just for debt. So the community service fund is something that you'll be voting on in the annual meeting. It is for work that's done that is for the community. So for instance, some of the baseball diamond work can be accounted for in the community service fund because Raymond doesn't always use the baseball diamonds. There's some other things. So right now I have a $5,000, it's sort of like the starting balance. So that's on the revenue limit, and I'll show that to you a little bit later, some of the detail. So it sort of has a description of what Fund 80 can be used for. So currently you don't have a Fund 80. So here's the property tax levy right now. So this 3,003,687, that number will change, but for now that's what it's projected at, and it changes because tomorrow they'll give me all of the numbers. October 1st came out with the equalized value, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that 3 million, it'll be close to that number. So this is where the projected number goes. So right now, for 25-26 projected 757 million, actually it's 396 million. And October 1st they came out with the equalized value. So your property tax value of your home is an average, went up an average of 8-point-something%. So it's possible that your value will go up 15%, someone's might go up 3%, but on average it's at 8%. I couldn't do that on here because I had to get it to the paper by October 3rd. So unfortunately, the timing was bad. But, so the mill rate is the representation at 396 of how much money that a property owner will owe. So on a $400,000 property, 1584, that's a yearly, that's an annual number. And that's just for Raymond School. Here's the breakdown of that $3.96. So the general fund is the bulk of it that runs the school and pays the teachers. Fund 38, debt, 35 cents. And then the community service fund, the Fund 80, is less than a penny. So that $5,000 is, if you have a $400,000 home, it's like $2.80 a year. But for making some improvements to some of the outer area, especially the baseball diamonds, it needs a lot of work. So at least starting that work and having those conversations. Here's a history of your tax levy and mill rates. If you notice, it goes up and down. A lot of it has to do with equalization aid. So if you get more equalization aid, your property tax levy goes down. It's just sort of how it goes. And obviously, it's good that your property values have gone up since 2014. So when you sell your house, you have a better rate, obviously. This is also in your packet. Keep pressing the wrong button. So last year, here's some comparison of mill rates, property values, tax levies, their last referendum that was passed, and their average membership. That doesn't mean how many kids were at the school, that's how many residents on a 3-year average that you can financially account for. Obviously, the high school pulls from all of the communities, so that's why their value and their mill rate is lower, so their value is higher, just because they're pulling from all the communities. Again, here's the proposed tax levy. So when you vote at the annual meeting, this is the number that you'll vote for. There's not much play in it. It's just sort of reality and how the formulas work. When you approve it, hopefully you approve it today, then what happens is tomorrow I get all the numbers, and then there's I have to recertify the tax levy on October 20th. It'll be close, but it'll be lower. I'm hoping it'll be lower. So here again is the projected tax levy. Right now as it stands at 757. It's going to be 796. So any questions you have, you can also ask me during the annual meeting before you approve the levy. So I don't want to draw out this too much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. With that ends our budget hearing. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the budget hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:05. And now we will move on to the annual meeting. Let me just find my papers. There we go. Thank you. So this meeting is now called to order. My first action will be the election of a chairperson. So we will need to nominate a chairperson from the community. Is there a nomination for a chair?
Are we allowed to nominate? No.
I think you are because you're a community member at this point, but we haven't turned it over to the person yet, so I think you can, we just need someone to nominate.
I was just curious.
Is there a nomination for chair?
Yes, the board, I mean, as community members, you can nominate. We need someone to be nominated.
You can nominate somebody.
I'll nominate Janelle Wise to be chairperson of this meeting.
Sue Goodrich has nominated Janelle Wise to chair this meeting. Janelle, do you accept?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? And one more time, are there any other nominations? We will need a motion to accept
I make-
Janelle as our chairperson.
I make a motion to accept Janelle Weiss as our annual chairperson, annual budget meeting chairperson, or
Annual meeting.
budget, yes, annual meeting chairperson.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to approve Janelle Wise as our chairperson for the annual meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The gavel is yours.
And we vote.
Sit down. Sit here, sit there. Your packet? Sit down. Yeah. There is no script. So welcome back.
Thanks.
Back, ahead, there we go. See that you show up to a meeting, you get nominated as chairperson, so.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're looking at, there's 5 resolutions. I'll serve as sort of the resident parliamentarian. If there's a question, I'll do my best to help navigate.
All right, also advise me on any Robert's rules criteria as we're moving through this because it's very quick that you forget. So I guess the next agenda item is the adoption of the meeting minutes from the annual meeting on August 22nd, 2024. So they are listed in the packet. So I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I second the motion. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jenny. Where do I go from here? All in favor? Is there any discussion?
Any discussion?
Any discussion of the meeting minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any hands?
I think we're actually,
Raise your hand.
as part of our ground rules, we're going to do a hand vote. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Raise your hand if you.
Raise your hand if you're saying in favor of approving the meeting minutes. So our counters are Dana and Donna. If you're approving, you just have to, all those in favor will raise their hand affirmative. visual, it appears to be majority, but
We have 14.
14 affirmative.
All right, motion passes.
Was there any opposed?
Any opposed?
Just for the record, they opposed to last year's meeting happening.
Okay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to new business. So first with resolution A, salary for board members. Anybody's following along, all of this is on page 26, and we will be starting there and moving through the various resolutions. So on page 26, we're looking for a resolution to set the salaries for the board members. You can see on the bottom of page 26, there is, for reference, what is the current salaries for each position.
I'll make a motion to remain the same as last year.
I'll second.
Keith?
I think we've got to read the resolution in.
Yep. So, be it resolved that the following salaries will be set for the members of the Board of Education, and they are reimbursed actual and necessary expenses when traveling in the performance of their duties as board members. Each board member paid in 2 installments, April and December. Board president, $2,350. Board vice president, $2,350. Board clerk, $2,450. Board treasurer, $2,350. And board director, $2,350. Do I have a motion to approve?
I think he just motioned.
That's Keith's motion? Okay, thank you.
And then the second.
And then you seconded, Mike. Thank you.
Ed
Ed, sorry.
Robinson.
Yeah. Also known as my neighbor.
I think everyone in this room can say that.
True, true. Okay, so, any discussion? Those in favor, show of hands.
We have 13 affirmative. Any
Those opposed?
0?
Motion carries. All right, next item is the school food service program.
I can make the resolution, be it resolved that the Board of Education is authorized to contract to maintain a school food service program for the pupils attending Raymond School.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Jenny. Any discussion? All in favor?
Lots of hands. I think we're going to say unanimous on this one. Everyone wants to feed the kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Looking at
Any
it, every hand was
opposed?
up.
Yeah, no, okay, thank you, and motion carries. Transportation. Do I have a resolution for transportation?
I make a motion to the resolution, be it resolved, that the Board of Education is authorized to purchase, operate, and maintain pupil transportation vehicles and to purchase liability insurance for such vehicles or to finance contracts for the use and services of student transportation vehicles.
Thank you, Jenny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Those in favor, for any discussion? Those in favor? Start with opposed first. Got all in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
This is a long one.
Yes, this is a long one. This is
Because
the
we
new
don't
one,
have-
Fund 80, yes.
We would not be reading this every year. This is just because this has never been considered before, so whomever chooses this one has to put their reading hat on.
the authority under Wisconsin State Statute 120.13, Section 19, to provide and support programs that serve the greater community and utilize district facilities outside of the regular K-12 instructional curriculum. And whereas the district recognizes the value of offering community-focused, non-instructional programs, included but not limited to adult education classes, community recreation, summer enrichment programs, and school-aged childcare, which contribute to the public welfare and effective use of the district assets. And whereas sound financial accounting practices require the segregation of revenues and expenditures for those self-supporting or community-funded activities from the district's general education operating budget, Fund 10. And whereas the establishment of a dedicated community service fund, Fund 80, allows for transparent and accurate management of resources specifically allocated to those non-instructional programs in compliance with the Department of Public Instruction's Uniform Financial Accounting System. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education of the Raymond School District Number 14 that Section 1, Establishment of Fund 80, a separate fund designated as the Community Service Fund, Fund 80, is hereby established for the purpose of accounting for all financial transactions related to community service activities. Section 2, Purpose and Scope. This fund shall be used solely to record revenues and expenditures related to activities that are supplemental to the K-8 educational program and primarily serve the public or the community. Such activities may include community recreation programs, adult continuing education and enrichment, school-aged child care programs, and other non-instructional services provided to the community. Section 3, Revenues and Expenditures. The revenues of Fund 80 shall consist primarily of user fees, program charges, grants designated for community services, and any necessary local tax levies, if authorized, specifically designated for community programs. Expenditures shall be limited to operating and capital costs directly associated with the programs funded by the Community Service Fund. Are hereby directed to immediately implement the necessary accounting procedures to ensure the proper establishment and operation of the Community Service Fund, Fund 80, beginning with the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025, and to provide regular financial reports to the board detailing the activity and the solvency of the fund. Section 5, Effective Date. This resolution shall take full force and effect immediately upon its passage and adoption by the Board of Education. Adopted by the Board of Education of the Raymond School District Number 14, this 14th day of October, 2025.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Sue.
I second the motion. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Yeah, please do. Please read that. No, do not. You don't.
What are you seconding?
I second the motion for establishing a community service fund, Fund 80.
Thank you, Jenny.
That's right.
All right, any discussion?
I have one question. Are you able to change that amount, Jeff? Who decides that?
The board decides the amount.
Alright.
So I present to the board what the amount is projected to, what we're projected to use expenditures for, and then the board approves it or doesn't approve it. It's part of the levy.
I just have a question. Who determines when and how the funds are used out of, assuming we voted in tonight and there's money that goes in, who makes the determination of what qualified things are for and how much money each of those things will get?
So when I make an expenditure, when I expend it to Fund 80, the auditor will look at it and let us know whether it's appropriate or not. So it is an audited fund. So we have to justify every Fund 80 expense with the auditor.
So you pretty much know basically what the rules are and the
Yes.
things that you think will get approved in there and that.
Yeah, it's very,
Regulated?
yes, it's very regulated.
So it would like come onto our agenda, the board votes on what it gets used for before they use it?
Not necessarily. So when I do a report, you'll see the Fund 80 expenditures. So, so Mike and I will make a decision if it's a Fund 80 expenditure. So you're not approving the expenditure unless it's over $5,000. So it's basically our judgment that this is what we're spending the money in. And when I expend it, I also have to explain it to the auditors.
And should, in the regular board meetings, there be any questions on what those expenditures were?
Absolutely.
You guys would be,
Yeah, we will certainly discuss it, especially because it would be a new account. We have to build the practice of talking about it. For example, if there was an expense for baseball, for example, we wouldn't be able to pay for all of it with this fund, but a percentage, a small amount would be able to be taken from community service to pay for what we're already paying for. For example, we cut the lawns for the 3 baseball diamonds with school district funds. So those are used by the community, and so that would be a prorated amount, small amount that gets calculated that we would be able to take from and apply from their Fund 80 account.
But for now, the Fund 80 is going to be physical improvements to mostly the baseball diamonds for now.
So if the baseball diamond needed a load of sand, the guy in charge of the baseball organization would come and ask Mike or yourself for that amount of money.
Yeah,
It's gonna be less than $5,000.
right. So that money, it has a fund balance. So so if we don't use it, it just stays there until we use it. So until we find a good purpose for it, I was presented with about $46,000 of improvements. So I'm very confident that we'll be able to make some improvements. I mean, they'll be small, but at least it's starting with something. And one of the reasons why it's 5,000 because it is on the tax levy. The taxpayers, their equalized value is going to go up an average of 8%. If I make that number 20,000, then the taxpayers' taxes will go up too high. So I'm very conscious of the levy itself. So the reason why it's not very high is for that specific purpose that the value of people's homes are going up fairly high this year. So that's why it's a small number,
And sales tax is going up for
Yeah.
Michigan County.
right?
And the assessment from UG is coming in this year.
Yes,
It's going up everywhere, yeah.
Now, when the residents see as small as it is,
yeah,
they got another levy coming in.
sure.
That's poor things.
Well, they don't necessarily see it as part of our levies, they don't see it as part of it. There's not a special line that talks about that on your tax bill. But we do think it's important to
You
cognizant.
gotta make sure, I mean, there's 12, 18 people here, the
Sure.
residents should know.
Mhm.
You know, how are you gonna tell the residents that you're assessing, even though it's small, you know, that we're putting in another small assessment on that?
Well, so this is the purpose of the meeting. You're within your right to not approve the Fund 80 or the tax levy, and it's completely up to the community.
Can you do this at a different time in the next year? I
No.
mean, could you do it, you have to do it now?
I have to do it at this meeting. So the tax levy is approved at the
Bad
annual
timing.
meeting. I know, isn't it?
It's very bad timing, yeah.
But I think too, doesn't we already take care of the ball diamonds,
Yeah.
and it comes out of our general fund,
Right.
which takes away from the students and the school operating and all of that. This kind of takes it outside of that, so that it doesn't affect our general budget.
Every surrounding district, except us, has a Fund 80. So they just used 46,000, I think it was, at Yorkville, to move the backstop closer to the field, and that was taken out of this particular fund in their community. So, the high school will use some of their facilities that are used for the workout facilities, things of that nature. Some of the monies are used from theirs. So again, it's used for a variety of purposes in every different community. We are the only one that does not have one though around us, and I feel like establishing this, there's a reason
There could be other things, so the childcare is a possibility. There's a lot of things that happen here, and I'm just sort of dipping into them. The biggest thing I saw though was the baseball, but there are potentially other uses. I'm just, like I said, I'm just very conscious of the levy, and I know, you know, $5,000 might seem like a lot, but when there's a lot of work to be done that I don't want to take out of the general fund, that I'm hoping that the community would support doing some small improvements without having us to, you know, take away from our general fund. So that's the purpose of Fund 80 also.
Is there other ways besides the tax levy that we can, as a community, put into that general fund then? So let's say, for instance, we do host a class, and we charge for the class, and we use the facility. Can that money that we charge be put into that general fund?
Yes,
Okay.
but it's hard to explain. There are funds you can put into Fund 80, and that's in the future that might be self-sufficient, sort of like Fund 21. The hard part about the general fund is, again, once you put revenue in and you expend, it's wiped clean the next year. There's a fund balance, but there's 400 accounts there. So with Fund 80 and Fund 21, you're holding a balance, and you're saying, okay, so for instance, I hate to use Yorkville as an example, but I'm going to. Yorkville has a $46,000 fund balance in Fund 80. We didn't levy for a couple of years. We levied 1 year because we were going to do some improvements. We had some money there. We were able to move the fence, and that cost about $30,000. So, you know, I'm trying to make, I'm trying to find some ways to make some improvements in the general area of the building and in the baseball without having to, we don't have a lot of money in the general fund. So this is just some way for me to make some small improvements to, you know, I mean, you just look at some of the grounds, and it's just deteriorating. So it's just one of my small efforts to try to improve the school. You know, I've been at Yorkville for 6 years, and you know, I want to be here until I retire. So I want to see these two schools to succeed, and I want, you know, we don't have to have the Taj Mahal, you know, but I think there's been a lot that has just been not done. So this is just one small piece to try to get something done. Just my effort to do that.
So the community would not have, the board would not have to levy anything if they chose to just open the account this year and facilitate the account, and then next year if they decided not to levy, they would still have a Fund 80, correct?
Yeah, correct. You can approve a Fund 80 without any funds. So what you would do is you wouldn't approve the levy, which is the next item. You could approve the levy without the 5,000, and we would just establish a Fund 80. And we wouldn't levy anything in Fund 80 this year.
And like you said though, if we were to put this $5,000 in there and try to make some improvements, but let's say we use 500 of it, just offhand, that means we still have that $4,500 in that Fund 80 next year, where we wouldn't lose it if it was in your general fund.
Correct.
Any other questions? A motion by Sue, seconded by Jenny. All in favor?
$13.
Any opposed?
None.
Motion carries. All right, so the final piece was the tax levy here. Do I have a motion related to the tax levy?
District Number 14, a tax in the sum of $3,003,687 to pay the ordinary and necessary expenses for conducting the school in said district during the school year 2025 to 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Keith. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
0.
Motion carries. And the next item, moving on to item number 5, is to set the annual meeting date for 2025. There is a suggested date, if you look at the agenda on page 23, for Monday, August 17th at 7:30 PM, immediately following the regular school board meeting at 6:30. Have a
Motion to move it Monday, August 17th at 7:30, immediately following the regular school board meeting at 6:30.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, any discussion on that date?
I have a question. We moved it to October last year, but I don't recall why.
Yeah,
Yes.
good question,
Jeff?
Julie.
Want to take this one? Sure. So October 15th, the DPI gives us the revenue limit worksheet, so everything's final on October 15th. I'm not sure why it was changed to October 14th. It would have been better if it would have been October 15th, or 16th, or 17th. So you have really two choices to move it, usually in August. So there's two reasons why August works, is because you have to set a tax levy in your annual meeting. If you set it in August, you're able to do some more, you have more options when you borrow. So instead of doing short-term borrowing, where the interest rate is higher, you could do a TRAN, which is borrowing a lump sum, and then the interest rate is usually lower. But you can't get a loan or a short-term borrow TRAN until you set a levy. So by us, and they don't do it in October. So no one will give you a loan in October for a TRAN. I don't know why. I forget why, but there's a reason why. So that's one of the other reasons. The other reason, and I think August works, is because it's before school. You know, some people might be taking vacations, but more people are maybe more engaged, could be more engaged in the summertime. It also gives me time between August and then October to live in the budget a little bit more, and then make some changes. For me, it's a very short turnaround between now and then tomorrow and then November 1st. So that's one of the reasons. Those are the main reasons why. The other option would be after October 15th, because I would know it would be living in reality, because everything's set and done after October 15th. But doing it then is a little bit, I only have 15 days to make everything final, so it's pretty short. So that's why I recommend August.
Go ahead.
I have a question, so when are you going to have a budget hearing?
It would be actually, I think, 7:30 would be the hearing, and then following that would be maybe 8 o'clock.
So the
Usually
budget,
a half hour.
yeah, the budget meeting is inside the annual meeting. So next year, we start with the annual meeting, and the budget hearing is part of the annual meeting. So that's the process that I'm used to, and so they'll be combined. They'll still be noticed the same way. There'll be a budget hearing and an annual meeting. The budget hearing will be first. We'll start the annual meeting. You'll do a chairperson. I'll do the budget hearing. So it'll be all part of that one meeting. And then it's easier for the community member to ask questions and stuff.
I think the goal is that you have the information in front of you budget-wise before you're talking about all these levies and things. But I came into the district and this is what they had always done. Jeff came in and asked questions, and it's not how it's been done other places. But we feel like, yeah, it would be set up the budget hearing and annual meeting as one at the 7:30 time. So,
Jenny, did you have a question?
It was the same.
Okay.
the thought would also be that we would maybe engage more people because you've got board meeting and annual meeting and they can come and make a night of it. And the Brewers won't be playing playoff baseball.
Ooh. If anybody wants to drop the score in the discussion, that would be great too. Nice. Oh. All right, so I have a motion by Mike and a second by Ed to adjust the date to Monday, August 17th at 7:30 PM, immediately following the regular school board meeting at 6:30. All in favor? Opposed?
0.
Thank you. Motion carries. Any other business remaining? So item number 6. And once, and twice. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the annual board meeting.
Thank you, Jenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
We raise our hands.
Yeah.
Ed, raise your hand.
Sorry.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice job, Janelle.
Thank you.
You get the same job.
Almost like you've done that once or twice before.
Maybe once or twice. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
You did great.
Yeah.
Getting thrown in.
Quickly.
I was gonna nominate you.